Hello and welcome to Unit 1, Lesson 6 of Marketing Analytics. This is on product analysis. Well, my friends, we had been talking about data, stats, data interpretation, market analysis, customer analysis, and in this lesson, we'll talk about product analysis. So that will give you a clear indication of marketing analytics basics, where all the things which are required to do your marketing analytics will be covered. So starting with sources of data, collating of data, curing of data, then statistical tools, how they can be used for marketing analysis, then the different tools for data interpretation. Then we looked at the market analysis, which you have to do as the first thing, then the customer analysis, and now let us talk about product analysis. The learning outcomes for product analysis are product portfolio, new product sales forecasting, and cannibalization. Let's start with product portfolio. You might have studied in detail the Boston Consulting Group metrics, which we call as BCG metrics. Now you already know the product life cycle. When we talk about the product life cycle, we are talking about a single product. Here we are talking about the product line. A company is having many products. Now all the products are in the market and you would like to put them, you would like to have a portfolio of your product line, and for that we use the product portfolio management tool, which is BCG metrics, which is the best one. So if you already know, I'll spend less time, but I think it is very important to understand this matrix. So in this matrix, what you are seeing are four quadrants, four boxes that you are seeing. Now on top you are seeing this matrix is between the market share and the market growth. As you see the vertical line, that is, as you go from bottom to top, that is the market growth, or there is market growth for that particular product. And this is from 0 at the bottom to the maximum at the top. That means it is growing in the vertical direction. Horizontally, if you see from right to left, that is the relative market share. So your product of your company, how much is your market share, whether it is increasing, decreasing, or stagnant. So this graph has four parts. So we'll look at when the market growth is not there and market share is also not growing. We call that as the red one, which is the dog. So here there is no market growth for that product, and also the market share of your product is not increasing because there is no market growth. Then the second one is where the market is growing but your share is not growing. So that's a question mark where you have to assess, you have to do the analysis and see what all strategies and tactics that you want to employ for your company so that you can increase your share. We talked about the market share. So you put the product over there if the market is growing but your share for that product is not growing. Then the market is not growing but your market share is increasing. That means your market share is growing whereas the market is mature enough and it is not growing any further. So that is the yellow one, which we call as the cash cow. And the last one where everyone would like to put the product is star, where the market is also growing and your share is also growing. So that is the scenario. We want to take all our products to the star status. Now before I proceed, I would like to ask you a simple question and I'll give you some time to note down in your notebooks. Make this matrix in your notebook and try to answer my question. So there are two terms. One is cash generation. That means where cash is generated, and the other is the cash usage. Now you have to associate these two things, where you generate cash and where you use cash, with the two things. One is the market share and one is the market growth. So would you like to associate cash generation with market growth or with market share? So you put one element from here, either cash usage, and match it with market share or market growth. Well, I think you might have written that correctly, but let me share with you. So as you see, when the market is growing, for that product, that means you want to increase your market share. You will pump in the money. That means you will put more money, you will use the cash. But when your market share is increasing, that means your product is sold more and more. So you generate more cash. So that is why market share is associated with the cash generation. As the market share increases, more cash is generated. And when there is market growth, you are pumping in more money to increase your market share. Now, the second question I would like to ask you is, these are the four boxes. For each box, you have to put whether CG, which is cash generation, is equal to cash usage, and which are the boxes where the cash generation is more than cash usage, and which are the boxes where the cash generation is less than cash usage. I give you some time. You can note it down in the boxes that you have drawn in your notebook. Well, again, I know you know the answers. Now over here what you are seeing is, in dog and star, you have cash generation equal to cash usage. That means in case of dog, the market is not growing and the market share is also not growing. So the cash which you are putting, which you are using, you are generating the same amount of cash. In case of star, the market is also growing and your share is also growing. So what you are doing is, so you are putting in the money and you are generating the money. So the cash is the same, is equal. Now in case of question mark, what is happening is that the market is growing, but your market share is not growing. That means you are putting in the money to increase your share, so you are using cash. Cash usage is more, but generation is not there because your market share is not increasing. Now cash cow, which is the yellow one, here the market growth is not there, right? But your share is increasing. That means you are generating more cash, but you are not pumping in more cash because the market is not growing. So it is very important to understand this. Now the third question I would like to ask you is, what is the difference between dog and star, where in both the cases the cash generated is equal to the cash usage? In case of dog, neither your share is increasing because the market is also not increasing. So what you are doing is, there is no future for this product. So you are putting in the money and you are generating the same amount of money. So in the long run, there is no need to work on this product because there is no growing market for that product. So we'll talk about that in detail. But whereas in star, you are increasing your cash usage, you are putting more and more money because the market is growing, and as a result you are generating the same amount of cash. So you are generating the cash, right, as well as you are using it. So but it is increasing, so your cash generation is increasing, so it is on an increase. Let us take the example of Apple. So when we talk about Apple, what I want you to do is, this is your BCG matrix. And Apple has four products. In their product line, they have iPod, MacBook, iPad, and iPhone. I want you to put the four products in the four boxes where they fit in well. So you put iPod, MacBook, iPad, and iPhone. I give you some time to do that in your diagram that you have put on your notebook. Well, friends, if I put the four products there, so you will see in dog, iPod, which is market is not there and share is not increasing. So that is in the dog. In the question mark is the MacBook, that is their laptop. And then when we talk about the cash cow, it is the iPad, and the star one is the iPhone. As you can well imagine why it is so. So let me take one by one. If I talk of iPod, when they started with iPod, today recently Apple acquired Fitbit because they know the time of iPods have gone. So there are other devices which have come into the market. They are working on that. So there is no market, and their share is also has not been increasing. So it is a good time to divest, and this is what Apple has been doing. Now, when we talk about the MacBook, so for MacBook, the market growth is there, but the market share is not increasing because there are many competitors for MacBook. But the market is there. So how we can increase the share, that is why it is in the question mark. Here analysis is needed, and Apple is already has worked and is still working on that to how to increase the market share. So when we talk about the iPad, it is in the cash cow, where the market growth is not there because the smartphones have taken all the things which iPads have been giving. Although there is a surge in iPads and MacBooks because of COVID-19, but for how long it will stay, we are not sure about that. So if I talk of iPad, this is a cash cow. That means the cash generation is there. So we have the money. We must harvest it. And we harvest this into the MacBook and maybe iPhone. So the last one is your iPhone. iPhone is in the star box. That means the market growth is there and the market share is also increasing. So we'll hold on to that. So that is the strategy which we can use using the BCG metrics. Now let's talk about another company which is no more there now, and all of you might be tracking this company and how it has failed. So if we talk of Kodak, so let us talk about the journey from film and today when the digital cameras have come, but Kodak is nowhere to be seen. They had the highest share at that point of time when they started with film, and then they moved onto the cameras, which was the film camera. These were their two products, and for some time they were market leaders. And then a time came when it was the cash cow, the film camera, because most of the people were going for Kodak. That was the time they did not harvest that, and they did not follow the market for the new products. So there was no new product development, and things have moved to the digital side. Had they harvested or taken the money from cash cow when they were generating a lot of cash in the film camera and put that in new products like the digital cameras, they would have been still the market leaders. But that's similar is the case with Nokia, if you know. So if I talk of print and television media, and if I talk about the Indian scenario, the current scenario, what is happening? If you look at the news channels, these are all successful news channels with lot of subscribers. If we talk of the newspapers, so Hindustan Times, Times of India, the local Tribune, all these are the leading market share holders at the moment. But will they be in the star category in the future? That's the question. So at present, if I say where they stand, these are the cash cows. They are generating a lot of cash, but the market growth is not there because the people are moving to digitization. People are, we have a lot of young generation or youngsters in our country who are moving to the digital platforms. They want to read on their iPads. They want to have streaming services. So they don't want to have all these channels, and that is the television media. So if I look at that, so this is the cash cow that you are seeing in the bottom left box. So all are doing well, but if they take this cash generated and harvest that in digital and mobile application, because digital is the question mark, that is they have to do the analysis, and the mobile application because they are the market share, they have it and they can create that and the market is growing. So these are the two platforms where they have to move it. So that is how we do the product portfolio. Next, I move on to the sales forecasting. So when we talk about sales forecasting, as you know, there are qualitative methods and there are quantitative methods. And we discussed some of the methods earlier in the customer analysis. So if I talk of quantitative approaches, which is a naive approach, moving averages, exponential smoothing, trend projection, time series method. So all these you have already done. Similarly, qualitative methods, we discussed about executive opinion, Delphi method, Salesforce estimates, and consumer surveys. So here we are talking about new product. How to do the sales forecasting for the new product. That's not an easy job because there is no historical data available for the new product because it is coming for the first time in the market. You are launching it. So what you do is you consider many factors for this sales forecasting, like features and quality vis-a-vis your competitors, brand strength, price and promotion strategy, distribution capability, timing of launch, and many other factors. But the two prime factors which you must consider is the brand strength and the distribution capability. These are two major factors which you consider, especially if I talk of FMCG or the retail sector. Now there are four approaches that we use if we want to do the forecasting for the new product. These four approaches are market share based, retail store based, advertising awareness based, and price variation based. Let us look one by one at each of the approaches. Number one is your market share based. So what you do is we try to use the analytics again for either a similar product or try to assess the market growth of a similar product or the product which you are launching and try to, based on the characteristics, you try to see that what is going to be the market share and you come out with some forecast. Number two is your retail store based, that you try to see how many retail stores you have. So this is more to do with the logistics approach and how much a similar product is being sold there and how is your distribution channel for that. The third one is advertising awareness based, where what you do is you try to make the people aware of the new product and you run some trials in your existing chain, and then you try to see how many of the people you retain for that product. So this can go for some months or some years. And then the last one is your price variation based, where you put a price, right? And then you do the surveys as we did for the sunglasses, headphones, that sort of thing. So again, those tools that we discussed, you use that for the forecasting, and you use the linear regression method for that. So for example, you give some discounts, then you have category of customers. So you look at all the things using the analytics, and you try to come out with a forecast. Now, once you have done that, so as I said, analytics help you in all the four approaches. But rather than using one approach, what generally in the industry people do, they have a figure. For example, with the market share for the new product, the forecast is $10 million worth of sales. For retail, it has come out to be retail store approach 6 million. For advertising approach, it is 12 million. For the price approach, it is 8. Then you arrive at a final forecast depending on the product that you are going to launch. Now, when we talk about cannibalization, what is cannibalization? Firstly, it is very important to understand. So basically, it is reduction in sales value or sales revenue or market share of one product as a result of introduction of a new product by the same producer. Now here, your market share is taken by the new product. So you are eating your own market share. This is what it is saying. So this is one of the key consideration in product portfolio analysis. And this is done by design by many companies. They intentionally do it, especially in the e-commerce. You might have heard about keywords in search engine optimization. That is known as keyword cannibalization, because many of the keywords are targeting the same page. So sometimes the search engine gets confused what is happening there. But this is what is cannibalization. Now, there are certain risks because you are upselling, your process may be hindered. Then I talked about the search engines which get confused, and maybe there is some risk that you may lose that traffic. And also with the teams, like it has to be very clearly well defined, intentional by design. Now, let me take one example of Apple with iPad, because they did the cannibalization. So Apple cannibalized their own sales of iPad when they launched iPhone in September 2014. So as per Forbes, the shipment of iPads was down by 23% when they announced the launch of iPhone 6. In the words of Steve Jobs, he quoted, "If you don't cannibalize yourself, someone else will." So this is what Steve Jobs said when he released the iPhone in 2011. Let me take some more examples. These are for big brands in retail like Walmart and Starbucks. So what they do, for them, cannibalization is good. How? What they do is they put their stores within the same region. As you might have seen in India also, the Reliance stores, you will see in the same sector, in the same phase, or in the same market, they have two stores. What is that? That is nothing but cannibalization. So what they try to do, that they do it by design, but if you see the overlap, they try to reduce as much as they can. but there is no space for competitors, so they try to eat their share by doing the cannibalization. So what are the benefits? So you are reaching new customers, maybe in smaller size, but definitely yes. The visibility is more with the same marketing money. You are taking away more from the competitors than your own chain. Although you are eating your own market share, but you are also taking away competitors' share to some extent. So your purchasing power get increased. So when we talk of the rent, of course, and you are trying to kill the competition because your visibility increases. And this is what Walmart and Starbucks they employ by design. So that is the end of lesson 6. Let me summarize for you. We talked about product portfolio where we looked at BCG metrics, which is very important, and then you use the analytics to see how you can build up on the strategies and the tactics that you want to employ depending on where your product fall in the BCG metrics. We talked about sales forecasting, especially for the new product, and then lastly we talked about cannibalization. So as you know, you always have a quiz at the end. So these questions are a little thoughtful in the sense that you have to think twice before you answer. They are not direct questions. Which are the two quadrants, two boxes of BCG matrix where CG is equal to CU, where the cash generated is equal to the cash usage? Which are the two boxes you need to tell? Second is, one should harvest in the BCG box or quadrant of dash market growth and dash market share. So one should harvest in the BCG quadrant of high or low market growth and high or low market share. Third one, list two most important factors for new product sales forecasting. So I give you some time to write your answers. Well, you can check the answers. The two boxes, the bottom right where the market is also not growing and the market share is also not growing. That is the dog where CG is equal to CU. Then comes diagonally opposite star where the market is also growing and the share is also growing. That is the star one. Again, CG is equal to CU. Second question, one should harvest in the BCG quadrant of low market growth and high market share. So that is what you call as the cash cow, from where you can take the money because you generate more cash there. List two most important factors. The two important factors for new product sales forecasting are brand strength and distribution capability. Well friends, that is all from my side. If you have any questions, feel free to write to me at gsinghjmt@gmail.com. And if you want to work on sales forecasting using linear regression, this is a YouTube video which gives you hands-on practice how to use linear regression in sales forecasting with an example. Thank you very much. Have a good day and see you next time with the next lesson, which will be the last lesson for this unit. Bye for now.